Hi everybody, this is Esha Oberoi from Leora.ai and you're listening to the Leora Workplace Wellbeing Podcast, the channel that provides micro learnings for people that aspire for a great place to work. So whether you seek to work on yourself, your team, or your organization, today we're talking about mindset and high performance habits with our special guest, Chakyl Camal. Chakyl is an Olympian, entrepreneur, speaker, and philanthropist. The 33-year-old Mozambican Australian was born in Swaziland, an Olympic swimmer at the Beijing and London Olympics. Chakyl has embraced his learnings as an athlete and approached his business journey with the same ethic and unwavering commitment. Thank you for joining us, Shaq. How are you today?
I'm very well. Thank you very much, Esha. Thank you for inviting me and for the lovely introduction. Thank you.
No, thank you for joining us. I want to hear right from the beginning. Now, Olympian, how did it all start? How did you fall into the world of athleticism?
Yes. It was really in my personality to be to have fun being sporty. So I always played a lot as a kid, and it was a bit natural that, you know, if you're playing a lot in the playground and having fun doing it and climbing, you know, and doing all of that sort of stuff, that you'd naturally engage well in sports. So I got into soccer, fell in love with football, soccer, as many people say it, but where I was growing up in Mozambique. So I sort of left Swaziland at the age of 9. I went to Mozambique. Africa is incredibly under-resourced in facilities and coaches. So sports is a very distant thing from facilities, you know, for you to have access to and actually do it. You have to be very, very committed. So I had to actually find a sport that was easier for me to engage in, which was swimming. So a lot of it, you know, already from a mindset perspective at this stage, I had to choose what I could do, not just what I also love to do, because I loved soccer a lot. That's the first sport I fell in love with, but I couldn't do it. So, but I still wanted to perform at a higher level. As a person, I think when you're sporty, you've got performance dignity, I would call it. Like, you want to perform at your best. There's a dignity to performance. That gives people you know, more purpose. So that was a source of purpose for me, was to perform, and I realized that quite early, that it made my relationships better at home with my parents, you know, with friends. Like, there's a lot of things that improved because I wasn't doing very good at school at all. You know, Esha, I was failing at school. I was going to get kicked out of the school as a very naughty boy. So sport.
It kept you on track.
It kept me on track. It gave me a source of dignity, truly did, because I didn't have it. I didn't have any academic dignity at all. You know, I was at the bottom 25% in my class. You know,
but academics requires a level of discipline, and so does sport. It requires a level of discipline. So where was it missing for you in academia? Was it just like you didn't want to sit for too long, or what was that?
I didn't, you know, I didn't enjoy it. You know, for me, algebra, I didn't enjoy algebra. I didn't enjoy trying to work out chemistry or physics, any of that. I didn't, you know, maybe geography I enjoyed a little bit, and things that I could relate to from what I witnessed in real life. But things that I wasn't witnessing and that were not a part of my reality, they didn't connect very strongly with me from a perspective of joy and meaning. So I just couldn't commit. I became a good student at university and at school later when I was more disciplined. But as a young kid, when I was getting into it, I really wasn't very disciplined at all. But I was a good performer because I had a lot of energy. And as an athlete, sometimes that's all you need, you know, to get started.
And then, so you started the journey of swimming. Was the Olympics a goal, or did it happen because you were just doing the things that you needed to do and doing them really well? What was that?
So a coach came back. So I had a coach that came back from a world championship competition. Okay. And he represented Mozambique. I was in Mozambique at the time. I was about 12 years old, and I started swimming with this guy, and he brought some pictures of what it was like to swim at the world championships. And he spoke about his dream being to go to the Olympics. He had done several international competitions. He wanted to go to the Olympics. So I inherited the dream right there and then. I realized, hang on a second, if this is the path, this guy is older than me, he's my coach. He's got one Olympics to make it and that's it. I can probably make it because I've got enough time and I've got several chances. You know, I was 12. So I said, I like that. You know, I think I should aim for the same thing. So I glorify that. But you also got to remember that at the age of 9, 8, when I got into soccer, I sort of got into it because of the World Cup. So I saw this huge international event that I admired. And swimming only had that through the Olympics. That was the big event. So then I correlate to that. And I was like, yeah, this fits.
So I want to ask you something. This is really interesting because, you know, we hear time and time again that we are the product of our environment, or we're the sum of the 5 most, you know, common people that we hang out with.
Yes.
Were there other 9 to 12-year-olds having these visions and these dreams, or were you in complete isolation but happy to stick out like a sore thumb? Like, what was going on?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. None of my friends wanted to be an Olympian, not the people I played with in my area where I lived in, under my building. You know, social play in the streets are a big thing in Mozambique. That's a big form of entertainment. So no one in my surroundings wanted to be, no one at school wanted to be an Olympian. And even very few of the athletes even were dreaming that high, that were better than me. Some of them did, and it was a common goal amongst all swimmers, that Olympics is the epitome, and if you're good at it, you might as well have the dream. But it definitely, from the people I spent most of my time with growing up, my parents, my family, my siblings, my schoolmates, none of them wanted that dream. So I really realized quite early, and given Leora being an application about mindset and mental health and support, I was quite lonely. And I realized, even though I had these friends and these people, most of my time was spent alone, and I reflected on that. So I wanted to have decisions that were actually loyal to me and to what I could create, because when I was not happy, I was unhappy on my own, and the things that I needed to change affected me and not the other people. So it was a difficult part in my life from a mental health perspective when I did choose to be loyal to sports.
Yeah, because you found it to be lonely.
Exactly. And I had things that I had to address. I had to leave certain mindset environments that were negative for me. And sports became that outlet to be able to do that, because I was creating something, I was meaningful. So it was a source of meaning for me, not just supremacy and not just, being the best as well, Yeah.
And did the recognition and the rewards come early on in the journey for you? And I ask that question because I find that, there've been studies in university and in research centers where, as an example, they have 2 groups of students.
Yes.
And they offer them marshmallows, but they say to one group that, well, you need to wait and achieve XYZ before you get them, and the other ones get them immediately. And then they come back to this group of students years and years later to see who's successful in life. So this is all about like that instant. So how, for you, was the recognition, the reward, all of that early on, or did you need to work hard and earn your stripes before you got them?
Yeah, look, really good question. And the answer is yes. And it's actually it's more about perspective than it is about reality. Okay.
Yeah.
Because in any journey that you do, there's many positive milestones that happen daily that are on the way to accomplishing even bigger goals that are part of it. That if you do recognize them, if you have the perspective to see it, you can feed off them. So for me, it was like, okay, the first time I can do a 5-kilometer session was a milestone. Okay, not even like become national champion. It was just the first time I can do a 5-kilometer session. The first time I can do 2 5-kilometer sessions in a day. The first time I can do 2 sessions in a day and still do a main set in the evening and hit a pace of, a number that's really good in swimming. Okay. So you start to effectively really focus on your own capability and build milestone measurements within that it's hard for you to lose. So you can fulfill yourself.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So mindfulness, milestones, and meaningful milestones, like it totally makes sense. I can relate to it because this is the second time I'm building a business, and it's very easy. It can be very easy for me to feel down if I'm not achieving big things, like big milestones in this business, because I'm used to that now. But I've had to break it down and go, oh, okay, we just launched our first podcast, or we just had our first 20, users use the app, etc. in a different. So, I mean, we're obviously well over the 20 now, which is amazing. But my point is, in the beginning, it was like really finding meaning in the smaller milestones.
Yeah.
So,
well, in the beginning, I remember, Esha, and for your viewers who might not know, I remember hearing this when it was a dream for you. You know what I mean? So you've got a lot to celebrate from that point until where you are now. You've got a list of things, and it's mindfulness that shows you those things and that allows you to reflect off them, because they are successes. So effectively, there's a way to enjoy life through perspective, because it's very easy to have a perspective that nothing is going well when many things are going well, because we're only focused on some things. And that's something that you have to learn in sports, because if you don't have that, you won't survive. It's fatiguing to train. You won't survive if you don't.
Because it starts in the mind, right?
Exactly. It's truly fatiguing, and it's almost done in that way to ensure that only the people who have mindset survive. Like swimming starts at 4:30 in the morning. Like, why? But it does. And everyone who has to make it in swimming has to train at 4:30 in the morning and then go to school.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
Yes. I appreciate your thinking around perspective and how that's shaped your early, I guess, success, your early progress in life. What's your perspective on failure? Can you share an example of like a failure that you experienced? How did you perceive that and make use of that experience to propel you further?
Absolutely. Failure is, the reason I smile and I acknowledge that, because it is the true teacher. Okay. It is the professor. If you're going to live in a world, and you have to have a world where you are well within yourself, that is within you, the teacher in that world is failure, because you have to reflect on it and understand which intentions of yours misguided you. Right? You have to adjust it. And it has to be truth. There has to be a moment of truth. So failure, very quickly, because you recognize it as a teacher, you very, very quickly start to respect it as a teacher and not see it as the loss in competition. We lose all the time. Athletes, we lose way more than we win. We're humbled by failure all through and through. Like there's moments where you're meant to win and you come last, and it's in front of everybody, and so it's truly it gives you humility. Right? I was looking for the word. I wasn't saying humiliating, but it gives you humility to do that. And that is very important, because even now, dealing with failure in business, right, I've needed to, basically detach myself from the fact of what I was competing for, and understand that there's a lot more that's coming out of this than what you were trying to do, the milestone that you put in front of you. So failure is a teacher. It's absolutely a teacher. And most people have to look at that and not look at it as a judgment, as a form of judging others and judging yourself. It's not a judge, it's a teacher. It's there to give you, not to take away from you.
You
And I
sound
think
like there's clearly a lot of intention when you go through an experience of failure. What's your process around it? Do you reflect deeply with journaling as well? Do you write it down? Do you write down your lessons, or do you just spend time alone and reflect and allow your thoughts to arise, kind of dissect your thoughts? Like, what's that process like for you?
yeah, it is definitely meaning consolidation, reflecting and attaching meaning and reflecting on that meaning and really looking at and then accepting it, so it's look at the meaning and then accept the meaning and then liberate yourself from any suffering, right? Because failure brings suffering all the time. It does, even when I was an athlete, I suffered a lot because of the moments where I did get hit or that I didn't live up to the milestone or the standard or the expectation. And it's incredible when you become a good athlete, you stop performing just for your own dream. You start realizing you're there to serve other people's dreams as well. And there's so many other people that are touching their dream on you and you didn't even ask for it.
It's true. It's true. I'm laughing because the World Cup was last night and it was India versus Australia and everyone was banking on Virat Kohli. And I just
Yes.
out on 50 runs. And I just thought, wow, after being, named time and time again as the best cricketer in the world for the last 5-6 years, we thought we would take, the Indians thought they were going to take the World Cup home. And he has to deal with that failure today. But there are so many of other people's dreams attached onto him.
Yes. And that is one of the biggest pressure points of success is that, and business is no different, Esha. How many dreams are attached to your success now, in your life, and it's not a bad thing at all. It's a beautiful thing to have that, because that energy also, it gives you a lot of power, right? The dreams of people do give you strength, gives you energy. They vote for you. They push for you. So there is a lot of good in that, and it does help the success as well. So it is, a performance comes with a lot of responsibility, and it comes with pressure, in regardless of whether it's sport or whether it's business or whether it's anything. And we have to accept that lifestyle, and it does conflict a little bit with our inner peace, and we have to regain it a few times through the journey.
And how does then self-compassion play into this?
In acceptance, just being like, it's okay, I'm not less because of that. It's okay, but I've learned. It's in seeing failure as a teacher. That's self-compassion. Otherwise you're judging yourself. You're saying, I am not as good as I am because, or I should be because I failed. That's a very harsh statement. And a lot of performers do say that to themselves. And a lot of the times it's also because they want to be the harshest critics. They don't want anyone to judge them harder than they judge themselves. It's an escapism of judgment. But the truth of it is, let's see it as a teacher. Let's learn. Let's be humble to this moment and let's learn. Let's absorb from it. And I think that's where ascension does come from. That's where performance comes from. And also self-compassion of I'm okay. I'm still a student. I still need to improve. I still need to learn. And I admire that and I acknowledge it. And that releases the ego pressure a lot.
How do you suggest leaders bring this into their businesses around failure and acceptance of, their team members, or
Yes,
just that culture of more of this self-compassion, non-judgment?
Yeah. The best way to do it for a leader in business, in my opinion, is to glorify learning. Like, let's not pity our staff, because pity is not good. We're going to weaken them, right? And we're going to exacerbate the pain by blowing it up. So self-compassion space, as in accept empathy, yes, but learning. I think learning motivates progress, motivates, just being better, and it improves the organization. And it's a good way of compassion, of accepting that if you don't know, it's okay, but we all have a moment right now where we can know through learning.
And what are the values, Chak, did you bring into your business and your leadership?
Values, I would say, definitely, like tenacity. As much as it's okay to be tenacious, it's okay to want to get up and get it. There's a value to that, to value pursuit, but also to value the humanness of business, right? The fact that that everyone else around us has emotions that affect their lives. It's very important. So emotional intelligence is, I know we like to pick words for value, purpose, and, love and empathy and all of that, and it's good. But I just wanted to sort of highlight how I enacted it a little bit, which is, guiding people to be conscious of, you can change an outcome, not just based on the condition you put on the deal, but just the way you treat the person you're dealing with. Right. And that's something that I just, as a value I put in our business. But I also promoted multiculturalism by ensuring that people have the freedom to share their stories. Because everyone does have a story, and the more we sort of don't assume people to be a stereotype and assume their story, and we actually learn about them, the more they become a person, not a stereotype for whatever it is. You know what I mean?
As you were growing up, you mentioned that there were parts of your journey that were quite lonely because you had these big visions and big dreams, and not necessarily the people around you shared that. How were you able to bring people forward in your adult life, like with these big visions and dreams? How did you ensure that this time around you actually had a community versus you doing it again in a lonely way?
Yes, that's a deep question, actually. Thank you. How did I do it? By incentivizing others. Okay. So one thing I realized is, why do I do it? Why do I freaking go through the pain and effort and suffering to do, right? To do this. And I sort of reverse engineer that and say, why would Esha do it? And as I get to know Esha, I work out that she would do it for the following reasons. Okay. And then depending on what the outcome is of us working together in it, I can present a proposal and say, Esha, what if you accomplished, the following reasons by pursuing this and by going for this milestone, and we did it together, and this is the role you played in it, and this is the role I play, and I've already been playing it, and I have to sell it and provide evidence, because people, a lot of the times, doubt is the bigger barrier to pursuit, is doubt. So they need evidence. And sometimes you have to be the evidence.
Yeah. It's such a interesting statement that you just made, because I was just going to ask you that fear of failure, one of the things that stop people, right, from having big dreams, especially in the workplace. Like even if there's clear pathways of progress or promotion, it's just fear of failure and doubt. So as a final question for today, this has been such an inspiring discussion with you. I want to know, what's your advice for people in the workplace where they have fear of failure and fear of doubt? Like, as individuals, what's your advice for them to just smash those barriers, those limitations in their mindset?
Okay. Everyone has different barriers in their mindset. I won't be able to smash all of them with one piece of advice. But one thing I can say is, overcoming your barrier is not as painful as you think it is, number one. Number two, overcoming it is life-changing. So you're going to get, even if you're doing small milestones, you're going to get a better reputation amongst your peers, amongst your employer. You're going to get a promotion one way or the other, sooner or later, but don't do it conditionally. Always perform at your best. At some point, you will rise. You will be noticed. That will count for a better living environment for you. You'll have a better lifestyle. So performance is way better than not, because a lot of the times the risks that you face while performing, you face twice as much not performing or not taking the leap forward or not progressing.
Yeah, it's like emotion of regret is so much more intense than the emotion of going through the pain of action, right? It's
yes, absolutely. Not only regret, a lot of people, some people don't even conceptualize that they don't even create a dream. So there's nothing to regret, right? But they suffer limitations in their day-to-day that could be fixed by pursuing their dream. And sometimes the pain is already there. It's suffering. It's in the limitations of, having, to share accommodation, not being able to have your own place, not being able to buy a place, not being able to this and that. So there's limitations that can be embedded into your life unless you progress. And that's the way I look at it. I look at progress as a source of freedom, actually. So that, for me, it's the incentive of achieving progress is really big, that it's worth you challenging your mindset and not entertaining doubt, because usually that doubt is generated by insecurity, which is way overestimated in comparison to the real risks in reality.
You know what, Shak? This reminds me. I feel like human beings, we are big dreamers. Either we dream epically of our failures or we dream of big visions. So it's just easier to keep thinking about your dreams rather than getting like consumed in like your dreams of how epically you could fail in this, right? Because we just imagine things.
So true.
We're big storytellers, big imaginers. And yeah, it's just what do you want to focus on? Your insecurity or your strength?
So true. It's like you're beaming light regardless. What are you going to shine on?
Yes.
So true.
Yeah.
Exactly. So true.
What a powerful way to end today's discussion. I am so pumped for the whole week. I'm glad we did this on a Monday morning, Shak. You just energized
Thank you, Esha. Me too. I'm ready to go.
And thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you very much, Esha. See you soon. All the best.